and stones were getting like thrown at us, and they'd be bouncing, and it's like, what's this? And it's weird because my camera and my night vision died at the same time. It was totally drained, and I looked up a hill, and it was like a tombstone, and it looked like something looked behind the tombstone, and all of a sudden this thing got up. It was a little gray thing, and it like ran up the hill like a little child, like a 5-year-old would run. I had this one guy call me in the middle of the night. I have Bigfoot on my lawn. What do I do?
If you like today's content, please like, subscribe, comment down below, and of course, you can find the video interview on youtube.com/paranormalpop. Welcome to this edition of Coffee and UFOs. I'm Alan B. Smith. My guest today is the founder of the Seekers Club of the Paranormal, Anthony Simonelli. Anthony, welcome to Coffee and UFOs.
Hey, how you doing? Good,
brother. Cheers.
This is great. Yeah. Got my Alcatraz cup ready.
How appropriate. Is the coffee as hardened as Alcatraz?
Well, it's black with no sugar, and it's dark roasted, so.
That's how we roll. All right, perfect.
That's the only way. That's the only way you drink coffee.
It is. Yeah,
especially if you're up all night doing investigations. Hey, that's one thing. Keeps you going.
Yeah. I think it keeps you going better too, because when you have sugar gives you a spike and then it comes back down. Whereas if you're sticking with black coffee, exactly. My sister introduced me to black coffee many a year ago, so I learned to also just appreciate, the flavor of coffee too.
Yeah, that's you miss it on because you dilute it with milk, cream, and everything else, sugar. I just like to have a cup and taste the coffee.
Yeah, although. I do have a weakness. During the summer, at least a couple of times a year, I'll get a coffee colada from Dunkin' Donuts. That's my guilty coffee pleasure.
Yeah.
So, Anthony, have you ever seen a UFO?
When in like 1974, I was young then, but I was living in Glendale, New York. It's Queens, and my mother gave me money to go get some Italian ices at the pizza place down the block. So you go running down the block and get my ice. As I'm coming out of the pizza place, because the pizza place is like it's on the avenue, and I was on one of the side streets. So when you came out of the pizza place, you could overlook my block. And I come out and I see a big light, like going slowly up my block. So you think it's a helicopter or something, but there's no sound. So I was like, what is that? That's crazy. And in the summer, in 1974, everybody hung out on the stoop. You don't know what a stoop is. That's the steps in front of your house. So everybody hung out on the stoop. So, the whole block back in 74, nobody had air conditioning and everything. Everybody had fans and stuff. So everybody was out that night. It was a summer night. I think it was August, something like that. And, so I see this light going down the block, and it was like going down slowly, scanning like the block. So I was curious, but I was like, well, "What is that?" So I ran up to the corner where all my friends were, and they were hanging out, and everybody started talking. What was that? Wow, what was that? That was pretty cool. So we talked about it that night, and nobody knew what it was. How we see a UFO stuff. The next day, everybody that got that was on the block that had the light on them, nobody remembered it. Nobody remembered any of it, except for my brother that was coming out of the house, and he was very young. My brother's 5 years younger than me, and he was coming out of the house as the thing already passed, so the light didn't hit him. So I was like, "What is this?" And I never talked about it. Years I never talked about it because, I do paranormal, ghosts and stuff like that, and I know how people react to that. So if I'm gonna say I see ghosts and I seen something like that, they will
crazy, right?
Yeah, especially in the 70s, 80s, 90s when none of this was really accepted. So ended up that years later, I didn't even know about my brother coming out of the house at that time, and he brought it up. And I was like, we were talking about it. It's like, yeah, I remember that and stuff like that, but nobody else remembered it. Our parents, my grandparents, everybody was outside. Nobody remembered it the next day. Or later on that night. So it's like we were the only two that the light didn't hit us. Then like I didn't bring this up for years. Yes, I think I brought it up when I started going to the UFO museum. I told Lance about it.
In Pine Bush, New York.
Yeah. Yes. And he was like, "That sounds like something. You sure there was no sound?" I said, "No, there was no sound." So that's actually, I guess, seeing physical something. I didn't see. All I seen was a light, and it was so weird because it looked like a scanning up my block slowly, and then disappearing. On the corner of my block is a cemetery. Glendale, if you know Glendale, it's surrounded by 9 cemeteries. That's how I got really involved with the paranormal too. It's surrounded by 9 cemeteries. So this thing disappeared in the cemetery and just ended it. You can see a light in the cemetery just dimming as it was just going. So it was interesting. So I'm assuming that was something, but
why do you think other people didn't remember it?
I have no idea. It seemed like I don't know, maybe people, I don't know, back then, maybe people didn't want to remember it too because it was a taboo type of conversation, or maybe whatever was going up the block scanning, maybe that's what made them lose their memory, if the light hit them or something.
In effect. So yeah, almost like you evaded the direct contact, whatever that was, through the light. That's really interesting. And you founded your Paranormal Seekers Club of the Paranormal in '96. You said, Why did you start the club in the first place?
Well, I was going out way, way, way before that. I've been experiencing shadow people, and since I was about 3-4 years old in Brooklyn when I was living there. And as I got older, it just increased, started seeing and hearing and being touched and woken at nighttime. So I started going out. I was 13 years old when I see my first full body apparition. And I started going out by myself with dowsing rods that I made out old coat hangers, old little warrior hangers. Remember those things? And the compass that I had from Boy Scouts, because compass has the EMF on it. So I went out with that and a 35 millimeter camera. And I used to go out night times by myself because I didn't want people to see me during the day because, like I said, I had that stigma against me that he was a nut that's seen ghosts.
Yeah.
So, so that's how I started.
Do you go out now during the daytime, or you still stay to the night?
Spirits are around all the time. So I will go during the day. I will visit old cemetery. I know people say, "Oh, why would they stay in the cemetery?" But sometimes I feel spirits stay with their vessel, which is your body. You know, they might stay there. Maybe that's their home base. I don't know when they go out, wherever they're going to go. But I go during the day. I go to old cemeteries. I go to abandoned buildings, which I have to. I had Kings Park. It's Kings Park. This is the old psychiatric hospital that's in Kings Park, New York. That's abandoned buildings. I've been there. I've been, daytime, nighttime. Majority of the time we go night. When we go with a team, we usually go nights. But you go get stirred anytime.
Why do paranormal researchers tend to go at night?
Well, I feel that at nighttime, it's more of the people feel that the spirits are more out at night. There's all these stigmas that out there saying that, like ghosts are always out in the dark. And I believe it's a lot of TV that tells these people what to do. But at nighttime, what's good about night, it's quieter, less contamination when you go at nighttime. Spirits do come out, and some spirits have certain times. I mean, I've been to different locations. Sometimes at certain locations you go to at 3 o'clock in the morning, it's the busiest, 3 to 5. You get all the stuff, and then you get stuff throughout the night and stuff that before that, after. But you get a lot of activity at those times. Sometimes certain locations, the Shanley Hotel, I always get stuff between 4 to 5 o'clock in the morning, the busiest. Hinsdale. I mean, I got stuff there from 3 to 6 when the sun comes up. You know, it's some places have different times. I mean, and you can't get stuff during the day, and I have. I mean, EVPs and stuff like that, and stuff moving, and it's very interesting, you know. But
Do you think that
there's no time limits.
Yeah. Do you think the ghosts perhaps like the quiet for some reason? You know, at that time in the morning, maybe you have some birds starting to chirp a little bit, but for the most part, you're right. Traffic is low, human activity is low, transmissions are low.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I wonder, do you think that they need peace, even though they are not, quote unquote, you know, resting in peace yet?
I don't think that's the issue. I think because they need people around sometimes, because that's the energy. They'll take your energy to manifest or to be able to move something. So they need the energy. If it's not the person's energy, it's their equipment, lights, cameras, whatever they might have on them. But they need energy. So the more people, if there's places like theaters that have a lot of activity, because there's a lot of people there all the time. They take the energy of people. You know, certain places, even a house. Where's the most in a house? What's the most used thing in the house? It's your staircase. Mm-hmm. People always going up and down, up and down. So the energy that people leave behind is what manifests them in those areas. So they need people around to, you know, for the energy to help them manifest and to make themselves known. So,
have you ever seen a cryptid?
Did I ever cryptid? No.
No? Okay. Well, I guess in Queens, it's not like there are that many cryptids running around.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know something? At one of the investigations I went to, it was, and this is weird, and I guess maybe that is cryptid. Because when I go out, I see a lot of stuff, and then I forget, and then I remember. Because I've been doing this for 30, almost 40 years. Yeah. I went to this place. It was in Amityville. It was a cemetery. One of the guys, this guy Jim, took me to, and people invite me on investigations with them. So I went on this, and we were in this old cemetery. It was like Revolutionary War soldiers there, and all this stuff. It was an old cemetery, and there was a big factory built in front of it, and it was like in a public area, but it was like thrown in the back, and everything was built around it. Yeah. And we were in this place, and and stones were getting like thrown at us, and they'd be bouncing, and it's like, what's this? It's like, oh, that's kind of odd. And I said, maybe spirits. I don't know. So we started walking around, and towards the end of the night, and it's weird because my camera and my night vision died at the same time. It was totally drained. And I looked up a hill, and it was like a tombstone, and it looked like something looked behind the tombstone. So right away, I think of spirits. And all of a sudden, this thing got up. It was a little gray thing, and it like ran up the hill like a little child, like a 5-year-old would run. And I was like, and I said, anybody see that? Everybody swung the cameras and everything, but it ran so fast up the hill into the what do you call the woods that were right there, that I'm like, what was that? And I didn't get it on film or anything, but I did see this little creature running up the hill, and it was it was like the size of a 5-year-old, and he ran like up the hill like a 5-year-old run.
Did it remind you at all of a gray alien, or is this something different?
You know something? I thought it more looked like it had a grayish hair on it, but really couldn't tell exactly because it was running, and it's very dark. You know, it's a cemetery, and the light just went by. So it could have been, maybe it was a little alien, maybe it was a gray, I don't know. But it looked like it had hair on it. So I was thinking, I was right away. I seen a little baby Bigfoot or something. I'm from Queens. What do I know? I see rats the size of dogs. Those are my cryptics.
Exactly. You know that video with the rat dragging the pizza in a Subway? That's still making rounds.
Yeah, exactly. And I've seen that down there. I've seen them eat plenty of things. I'm a retired electrician, and I work the subways. And you see rats like really. I see them pull big garbage bags off a platform. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's all kinds of creatures, including the human variety as well. There's an account that I follow. I can't remember the name off the top of I think it's called the Creatures of the Subway, or Subway Creatures, something like that. It's a really great account. But yeah, I mean, we lived there for I guess over 15 years, and you see a lot of strange things, but usually it's human induced. In cities, is there a difference when you're investigating a haunted site in a highly populated area versus a haunted site in a more desolate area? Are there any changes in the pattern of how you pick things up, the frequency of whether something shows up on a as an EVP or not?
Well, in the city, where is the busy areas, you just have to know your environment, know what's around you, know what can contaminate your stuff. Because if you do EVPs and you're on in an area that has somebody talking as they walk by, or traffic or something, you got to know how to really pick up an EVP from that. A disembodied voice, or because if you hear a voice, and you're doing when you do reviews, sometimes you're listening to hours and hours of nothing. All of a sudden you hear that little voice like, "Hi," you're like, "Wow, this is cool. Look, I got something." And then you're like, "Wait a minute. That was the pizza man that just came and dropped off a couple of pies," You have to know your environment. You have to know where you are. And there is a way to listen to certain on EVPs. I mean, if you're in an area that could contaminate with a lot of traffic, I'm not just saying traffic cars wise, I'm talking about people also. You have to know if you're in an area and you're by yourself and something's like really loud close to your microphone on your recorders, that's possibly something, But if you get something in the distance, you try to, you don't want to prove it false, but you have to, because you don't know if it's somebody just walking in or, up and downstairs or something like that.
Yeah.
So you have to know your environment.
Right. In some instances like that, you probably have to put it in what Stanton Friedman would call his gray basket, because he can't really prove one way or the other, whether it was human induced or otherwise. Do you think in those kind of situations, going in with an SLS, motion detector is a better option than an audio recording? Because if there's a lot of contamination, like you said, maybe an SLS would be a better tool.
SLS is a different type of tool, because you do get recording, but it's not the same as if you're listening for. I'm a big video person. I do all my stuff on video. I got night vision cameras. I got all kinds of stuff, because I feel on video, I get the audio and the picture at the same time, and you can see who's in your room, who's in that area. If somebody's whispering, because that happened a couple of times. We had like these great EVPs. We listened to them recorded. Like, this is great. And then I look at it on the video. I'm like, that's so and so Xing this one, something, and they're whispering. So, SLS is a great tool to have. But if you want to get EVPs or something, you should stick with a certain, that's why they're recording audio on you're recording, you get yourself a nice recorder, that's better. But SLS, don't get me wrong, that is good. That's a great thing. But it can be, a lot of people, I see it on TV all the time. everything it's mapping out. It's something there. It's not. It's mapping out something that looks like a figure to that. That's what an SLS is. It actually maps out anything that might have, you know, they're looking for a head, they're looking for shoulders, they're looking for a torso to map out. So if you walk in a, I mean, I went to one place and I had them all, it's like I walk in the room like, and it's all black. All the lights are off and it's mapping out and it looks like the room's full of people. Turn the lights on. It was those, you know, those, the umbrellas they put in the middle of picnic tables and they pull up. The way it was, it had a thing on the top and it looked like shoulders on the SLS camera. So you have to know, every piece of tool that we use, you have to know how to get a false positives, because all of it can be debunked in ways.
I've seen some videos where the SLS would have this kind of human figure shape. And then in response to questions from the investigators, it seemed to move. So it kept its shape, but moved across. So obviously, like an umbrella, that's stationary. That wouldn't occur. In that case, do you think it's just the software picking up different, you know, angles or depth in the room and trying to work that out somehow? Or do you think in a case like that, that maybe there really is something it's picking up?
So something like that I would have to look at and see, because SLS also picks up your reflection. It can pick up a shadow. If somebody's in a room and there's a shadow against the wall, that SLS will pick up that and start mapping out, throwing a head and the arms on it. If you're in an area with like a wall that has some sign of shine and it reflects reflects you know, your body, whatever, it will map it out. A mirror, it will map out. It has to. That's why you have to watch a window. If you go past a window, it could map. You know, but if you know your environment, that's one thing I always say. You have to know your environment, because that's how you get the true evidence from.
Have you seen SLSs that are really convincing to you?
Oh yeah. You got my website and my YouTube thing. I got a couple on there. Shanley, I had we were up in the Shanley, and there's a room in the Shanley Hotel on the 3rd floor, and it's the kids' room. And there's a kid, Jonathan, that's supposed to be in that room. Jonathan is a boy that actually he died in that hotel. So we're in there. We were in the room next to it was Joe's room. Joe was a hitman that's part of that hotel too. And we were in Joe's room, and somebody had a music box that had a sensor on it in the kids' room, and it started going off. Nobody was in the room. So we stayed outside the room, and so we swung the SLS camera, and I had my camera, and I had one of my friends with my SLS swing it there. And all of a sudden, if something popped up, it looked like a kid, like would jump around and roll on the floor and everything. So we're like, "Oh, Jonathan, that's cool. Thank you." And there was nothing in that room that it could be mapped. You could hear me say it. I said, "There's nothing there that you can map out."
Which one of these videos?
The Shanley Hotel.
There he is. He's dancing for you. He's dancing. Thank you, sweetheart. Is it Jonathan? You're like jumping and dancing. It's wonderful. You're doing great. Do some acrobatics. He's laying on the ground right now.
Jonathan, what are you doing?
He's just lounging. There he is. He's dancing for you. He's dancing.
Oh, Jonathan, thank you.
Thank you,
Is
sweetheart.
that Jonathan?
Is it Jonathan? You're like jumping and dancing. It's wonderful.
There's nothing there to map.
You're doing great. Do some acrobatics. He's laying on the ground right now.
Jonathan, what are you doing?
He's just lounging with his leg up.
That is awesome.
You're doing great.
Hey, Jonathan, you making that thing go off? You like the sound of the music?
You heard a sensor music box started playing in a room, rumored to be haunted by a spirit of children named Jonathan. He ran over in the parking lot. Okay.
Describe the SLS a little bit here. What it is.
Okay,
That's the hotel. That's inside of the hotel.
yeah, it's really interesting. So, is this what was in the background that I couldn't see, or was there literally nothing back there?
In that room there, in that room, there's it's empty. It's pretty much an empty room except for a couple of toys on the floor, and there was like a bed over the side that you wouldn't be able to see on that angle of that camera anyway. Because I do have that on my night vision camera, all that other stuff. So it's a room where it's like two rooms next to each other. We're on this room on this side, and that's the doorway. You're looking in the doorway of the other room, and we're outside. There's nobody in that room to map. There's nothing that's reflective in that room to map. And that pops up, and we thought it was pretty cool because the music box went off right before that.
Okay. Yeah. And so the stick figure that shows up on the SLS, and for those who aren't sure what the SLS is, it was originally designed for motion detecting for games. So, it's looking for the human figure. So the stick figure looks like a head. You've got like the shoulders, the hands, the elbows, knees, feet, like little dots, and then these stick figure lines connecting it. When was it there before you started talking to Jonathan, or did it come after you began that interaction?
It started, well, like I said, we heard the music, and we swung the cameras that way, like what we usually do. And we started saying, Jonathan, is that you? You hear everything in the video. And Jonathan, is that you? And then also he popped up.
And then he popped up.
And yeah. So he kind of announced himself, yes, I'm here. Look, I'm dancing for you. Like a kid would do for you.
And that's the thing is if you can get enough video like that, because for me, if you are making the effort to create a reaction and you get a reaction that coincides with your request, then if you get enough of those on camera, that seems to me like you could lead up to like really solid empirical evidence. What do you think is required to convince a skeptic, not a debunker, but a skeptic, a healthy skeptic? How many videos like this do you think they need to see? What would they pick apart about a video like this?
A skeptic, I know quite a few skeptics, and I don't think you're ever going to convince a real skeptic, because they always have that behind their mind. Oh, there's something there. It doesn't matter how many videos you give them. I don't think unless something happens to them physically or mentally or whatever, they're not going to believe. I mean, like I said, I came across a lot of skeptics, and I'm not trying to prove to skeptics or anybody that's something. I'm giving it people open-minded want to look at it and say, wow, that's cool. Oh, there's something there. There's actually something there. So to be a skeptic, I mean, they would have to actually physically something happen to them that changed their life. Because I came across a couple of skeptics, and I could show them, I could show them a picture of Bigfoot shaking my hand, and they'll say, "Oh, that's they'll never believe anything."
Sure, and I'll put the link for that video and for your channel in the show description and the comments as well during the premiere. So, you and I met at Pine Bush, New York, during the Pine Bush UFO Fair, which has become a bigger and bigger event every year in the Hudson Valley. The Hudson Valley really is a hot spot, it seems, particularly the Pine Bush area. Now, some people say it's like geomagnetic energy that kind of feeds these phenomena. I'm not sure about that because geomagnetic energy, let's just say that's energy that a ghost could feed off of. I don't know how
Hmm.
that necessarily applies, if that's true, to a cryptid or to the number of UFO sightings that have happened over the decades here.
Because there's a lot of things with spirit, with ghosts and UFOs and cryptics. They all seem to be in certain areas. Well, you're not going to get cryptid at the Shanley Hotel, you know what I'm saying? No Bigfoot's going to walk in there. Yeah, maybe he's been there already. Who knows? It might be one of the guests. Shave him down a little bit. But they usually go hand in hand. There's theories that they always go hand in hand, and I feel maybe it's possible because of what the Earth's giving off. And remember, if you some kind of cryptic, animals in life, when a bird flies south for the winter, it's in them. It's drawn to them. That's their nature. That's what something's driving them down there. Maybe it's the whatever it is that drives them down there. Maybe something comes from the Earth. Maybe something to do with gravity. Maybe it has to do with something else. So maybe a cryptid might be in certain locations because of that. Maybe something that draws them to that location. Maybe they're migrating to that location. Maybe they're in that location because there's something from the Earth. I mean, just a theory. And aliens also, spirits, UFOs. Maybe they're all drawn to those areas because of something that the Earth's giving off.
Yeah, that's an interesting analogy that there's a behavioral pattern based on Earth changes, magnetic lines, weather, maybe even climate. And then a UFO, I do wonder why they tend to be drawn to these areas. And we're not talking about just little lights in the sky. It's not Elmo's fire. We're talking about full-fledged shaped UFOs that have been sighted in this area. I mean, there was a huge flap in 1975, and there was several hundred people that saw a clearly defined UFO. So this isn't some kind of natural occurrence from lightning striking and charging the atmosphere and a temperature inversion. There are all these physical craft that are coming to this area that people are seeing. It seems to me, maybe there's a parallel in your ghost investigations. It seems to me that the more cameras and technology we have, the more inconspicuous the UFOs become, because my assertion is that they are aware that we have lenses on the sky all the time now. We have phones in our pocket, so if they don't want to be caught, they know what not to do. Is there a parallel to that with ghost investigations?
I feel there could be. Yeah, I mean, you have a cell phone. Who thought 30 years ago you could be walking with a phone with a camera, on it. Something has a camera on it, or different types of lenses. And these cameras on the cell phone, sometimes it's just as good as any other camera, a regular camera. Now you got it on your side. So I feel that more stuff is going to start coming out, and it has. I watch some of these shows, and I'm like, that's interesting. From UFO sightings to cryptics to spirits, what's coming out. Because if people have cameras, and now also cameras are affordable. People could afford cameras. 30, 40 years ago, cameras are a little expensive. That was like a luxury type of thing, So I feel that with all this stuff is coming out, we're getting some good evidence. There's some good evidence coming out, and hopefully one day we, be able to speak to an alien, speak to a ghost, and and also science has to catch up to us. And all different types of, they don't believe in anything we do. We're all quacks, and and it seems like when they do investigate, they do like the Midwest or something or whatever, there's like a sighting. They always give that one family that doesn't speak well and, you know, not well educated, and they throw them out there and they say, hey, these are the quacks that are, and it's not true. You know, they seen something, but they're trying to make them look like a joke or make us and anything we do a joke.
Right.
So I feel science is not catch, and I think it's got to do with science and religion. So, you know,
I was just reading an article. I was reading an article recently, and it wrapped up the article with essentially the UFO phenomena began really in 1947 at the Roswell crash, and I said, no, that's not true. That the mainstream interest in it began shortly afterwards, but not even immediately afterwards. So that they were wrong about that. But that means that just tells me that as a skeptic, they did not do their due diligence and research the history and read books and articles from that time. And the fact that you think that the phenomena starts in 47, you've missed, you know, decades of sightings, and then of course even, you know, far beyond that throughout history and ancient history.
Yes.
So when someone's talking to you about your ghost investigations and they're a disbeliever, do you just let it go, or do you try to convince them?
No, I feel. I mean, years ago I did try. You know, you get into debates with these people. I don't try to convince anybody anymore because I know what I see. I know what I do. People come up to me. They tell me a lot of stuff. You know, and they talk to me about UFOs. They talk to me about cryptics. I have people calling. I had this one guy call me in the middle of the night. I have Bigfoot on my lawn. What do I do? I don't know. Don't mistake. I don't know. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I just lost my train of thought.
Well, and I can relate to that to a degree because I'm a podcaster, and oftentimes people will email me about, you know, sightings or things that they've seen, and they want me to do something about it. But, you know, like, first of all, I'm very local. You know, I don't go traveling around the country for these topics, but, you know, I'm a podcaster, so that's not my thing. But I think that sometimes people really, they want help, you know, and they want answers. So I'll just take their information and defer it to somebody else who I think might be able to help them, or refer them, you know, contact this person or that person. So it's good to have like building, for me, now that I've moved outside of the city, building a community here in the Hudson Valley area, you know, all the way to New York City and back, you know, to have people know people, because you need to have that relationship between different fields of study within the paranormal, because they always brush up against each other in one way or another, which I love.
Yeah. I mean, out there's so many different people, and I know when I do a private investigation and people really, some of these people seem so desperate, and you go in there and all I do is go in there and say, listen, you got something, or I got this, or play some evidence back for them. And that, making them just hear that, makes them feel better that, you know, oh, somebody else is hearing it now too. You know, and I have people, you know, thank me and stuff like that. Okay, I refer them. If they need more help, I got people help them. It's like a network, you know, people that, you know, if you're in it long enough and you get to know the right people, and, you know, you can refer back and forth. So, it's for me, it's very, it makes me happy that I could go out there and help somebody, you know, especially private locations. You know, when you do historic locations, they seem to want to keep their ghosts. That's how they get the money.
It's
but
true.
when you do a private thing, they want it out. They want it out, or they if it's not really bad and they think it's one of their family members, they don't mind it being there. But you give it rules, like, you know, can't do this. You know, like if I'm sleeping at nighttime, don't wake me up. You know, you give them their space, they give you your space, and sometimes it works out, sometimes it don't.
Yeah. Like a roommate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So your roommate's the ghost, and then you just got to work out a schedule.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm taking a shower at this time.
I had one of the women on my team, woman Linda, and her house had all kinds of stuff, but nothing really bad. And some of it was family, some was some of it followed her home because she used to welcome a lot of stuff, and she used to call them the residents that don't pay rent. They're there. They don't pay no rent. They don't contribute. They're just there. So it's well, some people don't care. Some people don't mind it being in the house. Okay, if they're not doing nothing, leave it alone.
Yeah, I agree. Also, I do believe that ghosts will, in time, find their way to the other side. Which is to say, if you have a tourism built on ghosts, I kind of feel like that clock's going to run out over time. I mean, I don't know how many, unless it's a location that's just filled with a plethora of lingering spirits. Eventually, from all the different investigators that I've spoken to, it sounds to me like that over time, whether it be 100 years, 500 years, they do disappear. They no longer haunt a location. Maybe that's not true. Maybe there are some ghosts that stick around for 1,000+ years, but it seems that there's like a little bit of a limit to how long they linger. Yeah.
Well, I think some of the spirits, if they want to go on, they want to. I mean, like I said, Shanley Hotel again. I'm saying that again. The Shanley Hotel, the hitman Joe, and we had EVPs on. We're asking him why he's still here, and it was on the spirit box, and it said, "Why are you still here? Can you go? Why can't you go on?" And he said, "Heaven." And it's like, what? I said, so we asked, heaven, what do you mean heaven? You feel that you can't get to heaven because of all the bad things you did? And I said, yeah. He says, yes. So maybe the spirit does have some sort of ability to keep itself here if it feels like it's going to go to hell, or if it believes in heaven and hell. Because it was, the Shanley Hotel was owned by the Irish mob at one time. And he, and I'm assuming maybe he was Catholic. Maybe he felt there was a heaven or a hell. Not everybody believes that, but maybe he felt like he was going to go to hell because of all the bad stuff he did. He was a hitman. So
yeah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I appreciate it, man.
Oh, this is awesome. This is great. Thanks for having me. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could leave us with one thought regarding the paranormal or anything at all.
I'm going to be this weekend coming. I'm going to be in Rochester, the Parafest. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there. I'm speaking on Saturday morning between 10 and 11. Anybody in Rochester, come visit.
Is it this coming Saturday? Because we're recording on a Monday, and this won't go up until Saturday night.
Oh, okay. So come Sunday. Sunday morning. It's Sunday. It's there. It's there till like 5 o'clock.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we'll be there. I'll be there with Ron Lourdes and a bunch of other people. So, April and my people.
Yeah. Well, April's also going to be speaking, I think the 22nd at Pine Bush, New York, the Paranormal Museum Gallery lecture series, where I'll be April 1st. And I'm trying to do it with a little bit of a different approach. I'm trying to come at this from a more of an existential point of view, and try to understand why you and me and all these people are so entrenched in these topics, and we can't get away. We're pursuing the high strangeness, and also I really do believe that there is like a mythical power behind everything that we're doing. In a sense, we're kind of, I feel, doing a service to the culture at large. Because story chasing and story creating, we're living it. We're going out there and living those kind of mini myths, and whether you believe they're real or not, I still think it's like an essential part of being human, just to explore all these strange topics and have these discussions. What if?
Yeah. What if? It's interesting, and like I said, I've been doing it a long time. I come across different people. Then it's. They say it's a nice hobby. It's not a hobby. It's a way of life. To me, it's a way of life. This is what I do. You know, everybody that as dedicated as I am with it, it's what they do. It's in them. Maybe they're trying to find reasons why they experience things when they're younger, but it becomes like everything you do. I wake up in the morning, I'm thinking maybe what next investigation I could do. You know, where can I go? Who am I going to bring? And it's a big thing. Or maybe what new piece of para tools, like equipment to buy.
Yeah. It's the the spirit of exploration too. I think it's just innate in who we are anyway. Anthony, cheers, brother. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
All right, and thank you all for hanging out with us for another cup of high strangeness on coffee and UFOs. I will see you, hopefully April 1st in Pine Bush, New York at the UFO and Paranormal Museum. If not, I'll see you in the virtual world next week. Peace and love to you all. And in the meantime, live in the mystery.